Alrighty, traders, welcome back. My name is Chris, and we are back at this again with the Nasdaq 100 Futures live recap. And today we're switching gears just a bit to focus on how CYMO Pro and CYMO navigated a highly nuanced session in the Nasdaq 100 Futures today. And highly nuanced it was, guys, okay? Now, from the open, the market started off with a little bit of hesitation. You had a mild sell-off, but it didn't last long. And the real play came after that bottomed out move when price flipped and began a quiet but persistent rally, which was honestly, frankly, guys, an eye-opener, okay? And today we're going to walk through how we captured that upside drift using a 5-minute chart to identify the bottom reversal and a 2-minute chart to illustrate how CYMO and CYMO handled the move upward through a market filled with, frankly, noise, okay? So let's dive into what happened, and we'll go ahead and start digging into the deep details on this because I do have some structured talk I'm gonna be sharing with you guys today and kind of give you guys some idea as to how this whole thing shook out. So I'm replaying this bad boy at 10 times the speed of the market, and let's go ahead and begin. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Let's go ahead and kick it off, guys, okay? Can I keep the time frame consistent because I don't always like how it always changes? I'm using the 2-minute chart. I think I've been pretty consistent with that, but I am introducing the 5-minute chart for analysis purposes today. So here we go, guys. We just have a few seconds before this thing fires off right here. And I promise I will get to your Q&A once we actually get through this. And I'm going to run this bad boy till about 12:30 Eastern right here on this clock. All right, so hang with me because I got a lot of really cool stuff to share with you today. Okay, so first things first. Let's pause it right here for a sec, okay? And we want to pause it. No, these are the Nasdaq 100 futures that we're looking at right here, okay? So first things first, guys, let's bring in our 5-minute chart, okay? Here's the 5-minute chart of the Nasdaq 100 that we're currently looking at right now, okay? For some reason this thing just gave me a little thing right there that says my visibility is restricted for some weird reason right now. Don't know why this would give me this error, and this is kind of bizarre that this would have happened today, but anyway, such is life. Okay, TikTok, I'll continue. Sorry, guys. Yeah, I just had that pop up on my screen right now. I'm not sure what that was all about right there. Anyway, here we go, guys. Here is the 5-minute chart right here. You got cycle, you got momentum, both falling right here, and you've got momentum right here with CYMO also falling as well. We don't really know exactly what's going on right here. All we know is that there's this huge bar going down to the downside. We don't have continuation of a trend that may have begun the previous day, as we always look right here, okay? We just have a lot of noise, okay? And that's visible right here by what you see in some of the jiggles between cycle and the momentum lines right here, okay? We do know that momentum is falling, cycle is falling right there, and momentum is falling right here. That's all we know as far as what we can see here on the 5-minute chart. But come over here and you look at your 2-minute chart. Now, what is happening here in the 2-minute? This is telling us a completely micro story of what's going on inside those 5-minute bars right there. Remember, guys, that cycles always precede trends, okay? And this is one of those classic examples of what is currently happening in the market right there. Look at this. You had a cycle right here to the downside. We know this is a cycle because you have a sine wave formation. You've got cycle falling, momentum is following suit right here, and we've got the beginning of what appears to be cycle 1. Now, how do we know that this is the commencement of cycle 1? I'll give you guys a clear telltale sign that this is the commencement of cycle 1 right here. Okay, you've got momentum just fell below the threshold right there. Okay, and if momentum falls below the threshold, guys, the first thing that should automatically come to mind is that, hey, where did cycle one begin? Began right here, okay? And where did it end if it's already ended, okay? It ended smack daddy right there. So here we are at the very outset of the market, all right? You're looking at this chart. You've got momentum falling. You've got the end of cycle number one, and you've also got CYMO sinking way down here. Now we know that everything gets exhausted, especially at these opening type trades, the moment that the purple line actually crosses above the threshold, okay? Let's go ahead and see how this whole thing plays out and if that actually holds water, okay?
Order
so that would be your entry right there to the downside, okay? If you were to jump in the market, I normally wait 15 minutes to let the dust settle in the market, and then I go ahead and take my entries, okay? But for the sake of the recap, I'll go ahead and take the entry there, and we will wait and see until this purple line actually crosses above the threshold to potentially exit the trade, okay? So here we go. You got cycle doing what it normally does and momentum pulling price down right here, okay? Which is not bad. Alrighty, and that bad boy is still going down right there. And you've got cycle 2 hasn't even formed yet, but right here, okay, guys, you do have a kink, a tilt right above here, okay? This might be a good spot right here to buy that back and take your trade off if you're a little bit more of a conservative trader like I am, okay? Right there, okay? Now, you have the commencement of cycle number 2 happening here as well, okay? So this is the commencement of cycle number 2 right smack right there, okay? Now, we can do is we can bring the 5-minute chart back in and see what this is telling us right here relative to what's happening right now in the market, okay? Dang it, for some reason, this actually took out my green threshold lines right here. It typically always happens when I come online to do these these sessions right here. You got to just love how these things work, right? Anyway, here we go, guys, okay? We've got momentum all the way down here, okay? And if you look at this from the 5-minute perspective, okay, momentum right here has not exhausted itself. It did exhaust itself right here on the 2-minute chart, but on the 5-minute chart, this bad boy has not yet exhausted itself right here, okay? What you do have happening here, though, on the 5-minute chart is that you have the ending of what appears to be a cycle right here, okay? This doesn't seem to be going in a trend mode unless this sinks below the threshold right here, so we'll see what happens in just a moment, okay? But you do have, okay, a cycle rotation right here, probably marking the end of cycle number 1. All right, so that's what we do know right now on the 5-minute chart right there. Okay, we had a little cycle right there, and this bad boy's there, and we have CYMO down here at the bottom, which has not yet exhausted its rotation to the downside just yet. Okay, so let's go ahead and continue this and see what happens. Okay. And if you notice, you've got CYMO right here, right smack at the 0 line. It hasn't exactly crossed the 0 line. It did hit the 0 line, but look at what happened between this phase right here when it tilted up all the way to the green, all the way to the gray box right here, guys. Price is kind of like stalled a little bit, okay, stalled just a little bit, and it just began going sideways right there. And this is cycle number 2 right here, okay? And cycle number 2 has not yet crossed above the 0 line, okay? We are still in trend mode right here to the downside, okay? And price, you know, still has not closed inside the box right here. So let's see what happens. Okay, now let me pause this for just a quick sec because I got to bring this bad boy in to give you guys context, okay? Look at what happened here on the 5-minute chart, okay? We had momentum dip all the way down right here. You have cycle going up right here as well. But look at what's happening here with CYMO. CYMO is telling you, hey, the trade looks like it's getting exhausted right smack right there, okay? Trades look like it's getting exhausted right there. Let's see what happens if we continue this right here for just a few more seconds, okay? And that looks like it's definitely exhaustion point right there, guys. Look, the moment it tilts up right there on the higher time frame, you have a pretty good chance that this is going to be exhausted. And sure enough, price is exhausted at this phase in time. Look what just happened here with momentum. Just tilted up to the upside. Pretty amazing how that happens, okay? So you had a shift right down here in momentum on the higher time frame on the 5-minute chart that really nailed the bottom right here to this move, telling you, hey, the move is already exhausted at this tilt in CYMO, okay? Then it was confirmed right here by CYMO with the tilt going up, guys. That is a tilt to the upside that's telling you guys right there, hey, you know what? It's probably time to exit the trade. If you were on a higher time frame, that would be a good time to blow out of the trade right there. Alt F2 and Alt F3 for those arrows. Okay, I'll check that out, man. I absolutely will. I'll play around with it after I get off this recap right here for sure. All right, let me just go ahead and continue this right here with you guys, all right? So look at what happened right here, guys. Just really noisy turn to the upside right here. You've got momentum rising, and you've got
order filled.
CYMO right here just popping its head right up this little channel. Okay, so we'll just put an arrow right there for you guys to see, and we have the end of cycle number 2 over here as well. Okay, so you had cycle 1, cycle 2. Price went into a trend and it was done, and we got out right here where the exhaustion zone right at these early morning trades. Prices did nothing right here, kind of retraced a little bit and went right back up, and we popped into this trade because you have momentum rising, and you can see how momentum is kind of rising right here, and we had CYMO stick its head above the gray channel, so we decided to take this to the long side. All right. And here on the 5-minute, guys, you also have confirmation that this trade is also going up too, okay? Right here, look at this. You got momentum rising. You've got cycle above the 0 line as well. So good confirmation that price is going up right there as well, okay? So this is how you avoid continuation of this trade to the downside in the morning here, and you capture the reversal once you have the tilt here in CYMO to the upside, okay? You count your cycles. You have cycle 1, and you had the beginning of cycle number 2 right here, which kind of fizzled out right here the moment it crossed over the 0 line, and there was really nothing to the cycle number 2 right here in that trade, okay? Right now, we took the trade to the upside for 2 reasons. Why? Because you have a momentum swing to the upside right here. You had CYMO stick its head above the threshold. Now, granted, CYMO right now, in the way that it's moving at a very, very, very slow pace to the upside. But granted, momentum is in trend mode right here, and it's confirmed with the yellow line being above the 0.90 threshold. Okay. That's what it's saying in the hotkey area. I'll give them a try. For sure, I'll give them a try. You know, I'd love to learn a shortcut on how to plot those arrows any day. So, yeah, appreciate that very much. I definitely will give it a go after I'm done. So here's the thing, guys. Today was one of those interesting days because it was a low momentum type of day that kind of just continued bringing price up all morning long. Okay, so let me just kind of pause this and bring this back because I really want to give you guys context as to what's going on right here in the market. Okay, you got a lot going on today that sometimes isn't too obvious just by looking at the chart. Okay, so at the bottom of the early sell-off, okay, here on this 5-minute chart, okay, the 5-minute CYMO right here, okay, it gave us one of those textbook structure shifts. Okay, you had wave rolling up right here. Okay. Okay, this is your wave right here, which is basically your cycle line right there. Okay, you had a center line break, came above the zero line right there, and a clean, nice cycle rotation that basically began the cycle rotation to the upside. Look at the length of this cycle right here, guys. Okay, absolutely crazy looking cycle right here to the upside. Okay, just it began right here when it crossed above the zero line and continued going all the way until it crossed the zero line right there. Okay, super cycle right there to the upside. It was just pretty impressive to see that, and that was our cue. Then we dropped down to the 2-minute chart over here. Okay, let me just kind of roll back with this right here. Okay, and here's where the dynamic duo came in, guys. Okay, CYMO, okay, you could have had this set to 14. It would have done a nice job at capturing some of the waveform right here. But if you notice, there was a lot of noise right here inside the waveform. Okay, and I'm going to show you guys how to fix that, and I'm going to tell you guys exactly what that is right there in a moment. Okay, I'll show you exactly what that is. In the meantime, here's what we're going to do. Okay, yes, you're in cycle territory right here, and you could have used scalp mode to scalp some of these things that were happening right here in price. But look at what's happening here on the higher time frame as well. Okay, if I bring this bad boy over here, okay, look at what's happening here, guys. You've got PYRAMO way up here. You just had a cycle swing to the downside right here. So cycle 1 just went up right there. Okay, you bring this bad boy down right here, and you're about to have, okay, check this out. Okay, I don't know what's going on here, but you have momentum, okay, all the way up here to the top. All right, so let's see what happens right here if momentum actually breaks above this level and continues going up. Okay, and this is important, okay, because you're looking at the higher time frame to try to help you make decisions on what's going on in your lower time frame chart to execute your trades. All right, so if this is happening right here and you just saw momentum, okay, pierce up above the 0.90% channel, what's the first thing that you need to do? Okay, yeah, it says cycling on the chart right here, okay, because price is inside the channel right here. Okay, and I'm going to explain to you exactly what's going on with the cycle component of price in just a moment. So the first thing you do, remember, you count the cycles. Now that you're in trend mode here, you count the cycles. Cycle number 1 began here and ended over here on the 5-minute chart. Now you're in trend mode up here, okay? And you're stuck in this cycle, and it's telling you that it's cycle, so it's confusing. I know. Okay? This is just because the price is stuck in here, okay? But longer term, okay, price has a tendency to continue moving up when it's up here. So watch this closely, okay? Because this is really super important right now, okay? Here we are. We're in this channel right there. We got a little bit of a breakout right here where the lines turned and it turned into a trend. And now it's back into this long cycle. I want you to pay attention as to what's happening right here with CYMO, all right? Notice how CYMO is stuck at the 0 line, okay? This is going to be a really interesting session, guys, so I don't want you guys to miss this, all right? So pay really close attention to what's going to happen here. Okay? Now, if you're noticing something interesting on this chart, guys, you're noticing that a lot of these lines, okay, with both CYMO, with the momentum line and the cyan line are really ragged, really just jittery like that. It's almost like if they're nervous, right? See a lot of nervousness in the lines right there, okay? You see that right there, okay? All right, well, just keep that in mind for just a moment. Also, keep in mind that momentum this whole time has been above the 0 line right here, okay? Also keep in mind that there has been no sine wave formations since the start of the market all the way through here, okay? Probably the only sine wave formation you had was right here in this little quadrant, okay? In this little piece right here, okay? This right here was probably the only sine wave formation you had. But aside from that, you didn't have a sine wave formation before, you didn't have a sine wave formation after. Okay, you know what this is telling you? This is telling you guys that momentum is the dominant signal right now in price, right here, okay? Now, what's happening here on the 5-minute chart, okay? If you bring the 5-minute chart over here, okay, you've got momentum way up here, and you've got the beginning of cycle number 2 right here. Look at this. So, higher time frame is telling you that price is moving up. Cycle 1, cycle 2 right here. Why? Because, you know, you're in trend mode right here. This is going up, okay? Now, check this out. There's something else happening right here on the chart, okay? CYMO looks a little bit noisy on a setting of 14. And we're going to go ahead and change that to a setting of 18 in just a little while, okay? These subtle little distortions, these wiggles, okay? Like the structure wasn't there and it wasn't as sharp, okay? With the nice waves as we're used to seeing right there. Okay, I'm going to explain to you why that is in just a moment, okay? The reason, guys, that you guys are not seeing these nice, clean rotations in price, okay, because the market wasn't throwing off clean, high-energy cycles. It was moving through what I call a noise-weighted frequency field, okay? Low amplitude, long frequency waves that make structure harder to define, okay? So what a good trader does in a situation like this is you tune your tools. You can either leave it at 14 and see all these little noisy wiggles, or you can bump it to a setting of 18 and it'll smooth out those wiggles. And just like that, you get a clearer picture. I'm going to leave it at 14 for illustration. Then I'm going to switch it back to 18 to kind of give you guys a comparison, okay? It'll completely filter out noise and lock in the trend component of the move a lot better when it does that, okay? So, and that's what makes CYMO really powerful, is that it adapts when you know what you're looking at right there on the chart, okay? Now, how about CYMO right here at the bottom? Look at this, okay? It's maintained itself above the 0 line this whole entire time, albeit super noisy, okay? Remember that whenever it starts hovering sideways, okay, this normally represents areas of consolidation, areas of potential noise, right? Okay, that's exactly what you guys have been told, and it's exactly true, okay? While CYMO gave us structure, guys, CYMO right here also gave us conviction in the trade, okay? Although this entire rally, CYMO kind of hovered above the 0 line right there, kind of barely moving into this shaded gray area right here, guys, but never dipping below the 0 line right there. Now, what does that tell you, okay? If it's not dipping below the 0 line, it's telling you that momentum was in play. It's telling you that momentum was subtle, steady, and sustained, okay? And let's see exactly, we're going to follow this all the way through until PYRAMO actually crosses below the 0 line, okay? Now, let me just go ahead and bring the 5-minute chart back here on the screen, okay? What do we have here on the 5-minute chart? We have the end of cycle number 2 right here, guys. Look at this, okay? Bam, right there, okay? We've got cycle number 1. We've got cycle number 2. And momentum in PYRAMO has remained above the 0 line this entire time as well, okay? This is telling you guys that the market was moving up, albeit it was quite noisy as it was moving up. And you really don't see the noise here on the 5-minute chart, but you do actually detect a lot of that noise right here on the 2-minute chart that you would have used to execute the trade, okay? This is where you hear and see the noise right here. Look at the lines, okay? Look at this right here. Super, super noisy. And we will see exactly where this actually ends pretty soon. And if you notice, a lot of this is just kind of going sideways right here, okay? Really super noisy right there. It is cycling. The market definitely is cycling right here inside this right there. But PYRAMO actually picked up this whole entire move to the upside without crossing the 0 line right here, guys. It's pretty impressive how it did that, okay? And the moment it actually crosses below the 0 line, that will be the end of that move to the upside. Albeit, again, it was a very, very noisy move, okay? So keep an eye on it because we're going to switch it back to, we're going to switch it over to 18, and this is going to make all the sense in the world to you right now. And this bad boy has not crossed below the 0 line right there either. So let's just keep watching it right now. And the moment it does, I will go ahead and exit that, and we'll go ahead and see about adjusting a CYMO to a setting of 18. There we go, guys.
Order filled.
That was it right there, okay? This is the end of that long, long, noisy move to the upside right there, okay? Right smack right there. Let me just go ahead and put that little thing right there. Now, if you want to see how this looks like on a 5-minute chart, here you go, right there, okay? That was the end of the upside right there. And look at what happened, guys, okay? You know, momentum just continued to drag a little bit, came down, and that is the end. There is nothing left to this trade. Cycle 1, cycle 2 pretty much nailed the top of that move right there on the higher time frame, okay? It's a really, really noisy move on the lower time frame, but here on the higher time frame, it was a nice steady climb to the top. And cycle 2 basically nailed the top right there. So when you see the end of cycle number 2, whenever momentum goes above this threshold, this is pretty much the end, guys. There's nothing else left in that trade. In 35% of the cases, you'll probably have a blow off top. We didn't have it in this case right here, and that was the end of the move to the upside right there. Okay, now, if we were to go ahead and scale this back a little bit, okay, and say, hey, well, man, look at these lines, okay? On the higher time frame, it's only CYMO and PYRAMO with the setting of 11. Yes, that's right. I have CYMO set to a setting of 11 on a 5-minute chart, and I've got PYRAMO set to a setting of 30 and 26. So the same settings that you have here on the 2-minute chart, I have PYRAMO set the same way on the 5-minute chart. Okay, Now keep in mind, guys, look at these lines. This represents a lot of frequency component noise right here in the market, okay? Just look at this, okay? This is really super noisy. It's hard to tell where the cycles are moving and everything else right there, okay? This is exactly what I call the noise-weighted frequency field. This is all low amplitude, high frequency waves that make structure harder to define, okay? When you start seeing a lot of these waves like this in the cycle, guys, all you need to do is just maybe bump it up to capture the correct frequency wave, and bam, there you go, right there. Look at that. That makes the trades a lot more pronounced and a lot cleaner right there. So I left the arrows exactly the same way they were with the setting of 14, okay? This doesn't happen every day, but it does happen occasionally when the market gets super noisy. And look at how well defined these trades were. Here is cycle number 1 right here coming down, okay? So it began right here, all right, and ended over here. This is where your trend began right there, all right? So you got cycle 1, you have the trend, the end of cycle 1 right there, and you have the beginning of cycle number 2 right there, and you've got the end of cycle number 2 smack daddy. Oops, I can't get the arrow. Where is the arrow? Right there, okay? And let me just go ahead and fix that right there. All right, right there. Cycle number 2 ends right there. Now, look at this as far as the move to the upside, okay, at a frequency setting of 18. This perfectly captured it right there, guys, okay? This is where price took off, guys, right here. Look at this, okay? Smack right there. It just took off to the upside, okay? So this would be cycle number 1 right there. This would be cycle number 2 all the way over here, okay? And then you had a third cycle, which was cycle number 3 from here all the way here, okay? Which was a very noisy cycle as well. The pink noise spectrum, guys, which is what's below the chart, is what caused a lot of the noise today in the market right there. Look at this, guys. That was cycle number 3. And remember, what ends as a trend turns into a cycle. And you had a cycle right here to the downside that began right here and ended smack daddy right here, guys. Look at this, okay? Bingo, right there. The end, okay? There was nothing else. And if anything told you that this was actually going to end ahead of time as well, it was your 5-minute chart as well, okay? Because you had your rotations. Cycle 1, the beginning of the trend right here, and cycle 2, which perfectly nailed the top of that move on the 5-minute chart, okay? So, even though we had that frequency component today with the low frequency waves in the market causing, you know, distortion in our indicators right there, we did good by changing it from 14 to 18, which would have smoothed it out. You would have gotten a clear picture, noise filtered out, trend locked in. The upward move, which lasted a few hours, obviously became a lot more clear with a setting of 18 than it did of 14. Does that happen every day? No, it doesn't, okay? Happens every now and then when there's a lot of high frequency noise in the market. And if you ever happen to see that in your charts when you're trading, guys, it might be a good time to kind of tune your trend indicator right here from a setting of 14 to maybe 18, okay? And this typically happens when you have these long cycle trends that are just really slow grinds to the upside in the same fashion as you had today in the market, okay? Now, you guys saw right here how CYMO just kind of hovered along the zero line, barely moving into the shaded area threshold right here, just really doing nothing, but never really dipping below the zero line until right here, okay? Remember what that's telling you right there. It's telling you that momentum was in play, but it was subtle, and it was steady, and it was also sustained, okay? And when CYMO actually dipped below zero, okay, that was your warning, guy. The uptrend was completely done. It had lost steam, and a reversal was on deck, okay? Again, no hype, no drama, just clean data-backed clarity right there, okay? And the reason this matters, guys, is because most traders don't catch this stuff. They either get faked out by the early sell-off or they jump in late after the move's already half done. You've got the tools here that caught both the ends of the move, okay? The bottom, the rally, and the loss of momentum right here at the top. And that's the edge. That's what this is all about right there, guys, okay? Being able to spot these subtle moves with tools that give you the edge that you need to make better choices when you're trading. You wish this was before 9. That's awesome. Yeah, and it was a very, very noisy move to the upside, guys. Super, super, super noisy. And this is one of those textbook examples right here. This whole segment right here is really worth the playback a few times, guys, just to make sure you capture the nuances of everything that's been discussed. And it is being recorded, and it is going to be uploaded live to our YouTube channel after this is done, guys. Okay, so if you've been watching this unfold, guys, maybe even coming back every live stream, appreciate that. Always appreciate the viewers and you guys tuning in to see this. You've seen these indicator time the entries with surgical precision, guys, and yet you haven't taken the trial. So let's stop that right now. You can test drive the full suite of tools: CYMO, PureMo, ScalpMo, the dynamic VWAP, and get access to the daily briefing bot, plus 2 free setup calls to make sure you're completely dialed in, all free for 7 days. No strings, no bullshit. Just click the link in the bio. You can start now, because if you wait, you'll just be back here tomorrow wishing you had. Trust me. Okay, so I'll go ahead and open it up for Q&A today and see what you guys have written here in the comment section below.